Thank you, thank you. Okay, so how's everyone doing? We're now going into the session around nourishing eats, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now. And Brooke, just let me know if y'all can't hear me or if I need to speak up. We'll go from there. Let's see. Okay, can y'all see the screen now?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so nourishing eats from fertility to birth. First, I just wanted to go ahead and give y'all a little bit of background about myself. My name is Jovan Sage. I am based in coastal Georgia. And my background, especially as it relates to birth, I am an herbalist, a health coach, a chef, as well as a full spectrum doula. So my doula work goes from holistic fertility work to birth and postpartum, focusing on the first 40 days. For me, I'm also part of my work as a health coach as well as an herbalist is working one-on-one with folks for their greater health. So whether they're working through issues around fertility, or if they're just wanting to, lose some weight or find ways to balance their sugar, or incorporate more whole foods, fermented foods into their life. I am the alchemist. And so for me, a lot of my food is one coming from that place of wholeness, but also coming from this place of transformation, transformation of the body and transformation of food. I do a lot of work with fermented foods. I've been a commercial kombucha brewer, and I've been brewing and making ferments for the last 15 years. So on my farm, I actually do fermentation, hands-on fermentation workshops. I consult with other ferment companies, and a lot of it is about taste and incorporating those things. My health coaching and my doulaing came much later into my work. And for me, I have, it's something that just calls. So I trained with the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and going through their program. And going through the program, what I actually realized is that I already knew a lot of what they were teaching me, but they did, dive much deeper. I got to expand so much of the different fads and best practices and all of those great things around food and wellness. I've trained under the National Black Doulas Association as a fertility doula, rebirth doula, and sex doula. And I've finished my training with Bebo Mia as a maternal support practitioner. And I'm currently working on my women's herbal educator certification under Dr. Aviva Rome. She is an herbalist, a doctor, and a midwife. And so for me, it was important that as I'm doing more and more birth work, that I really study under folks who are connected to the physiology of birth, to the day-to-day of birth, and really growing my practice in that way. For other folks who know me through my food and farming work, I am on family land, on my partner's family land. It's been in the family since 1874. It's called Gillier Farms, and we are organic farmers. So I work to grow a lot of the medicinals or forage for my practice, including flower essences, tinctures. I grow mushrooms, and so I incorporate those into my practice as well. And so, you know, for folks who are unsure that Georgia has a coast, it does. It has about 100 miles of coast. You may have heard of Savannah, which is usually what people hear, but we're about 45 minutes an hour below Savannah in the Golden Isles. So our farm is 30 minutes from Florida and 15 minutes from the beach. And so what I'm going to be talking about today around, you know, fertility and pregnancy and understanding the different foods that go into creating the perfect environment to generate life. And, you know, for me, one of the things that I think is important as someone who is a full spectrum doula and has been through her own pregnancy loss is understanding that fertility isn't just for making babies, but that fertility is also an important vitality sign for women's bodies. And so really embracing that. And so I also, as I'm working with clients, also work with folks who aren't trying to get pregnant, but are trying to work through issues such as polycystic ovarian syndrome and other fertility issues. So we'll be talking about eating for fertility, eating for pregnancy. And then because of the times that we're in, I felt as an herbalist and as a healer, I would be remiss if I didn't start talking about immunity in a deeper way, as we're all coming face to face with the challenges of coronavirus, as well as just general cold and flu season. And so I wanted to make sure that we covered that, because so much of immunity is also about what you eat. I don't know about you, but I do have clients reaching out to me, like asking for help. And so I just want to make sure wherever I can help, I can do that. And so that's part of that. And so that'll be a new addition to my presentation. So just talking about like what fuels us, that presentation around breathing and around meditation and around, you know, really getting grounded is something that's super important, because it's so key to our lives. And so some of the things that I'll talk about, and this is something that's in my personal practice, is around those primary foods. So we're not talking about the foods that you put into your mouth. We are literally talking about your life, what feeds you. So your relationships, your physical activity, your spirituality, your work, your calling, your mission, those things that fuel us, those are your why, what gets you up in the morning and what keeps you going in this work. And so for me, that's been a huge part of, you know, as I'm working with folks, whether they're a doula client or a wellness client or an herbalist client, is really taking a look at some of those things, because we know our day-to-day often affect what we actually put into our bodies. So if you come home and everyone's ignoring you and you didn't get a kiss or whatever, you may be like, you know what, I deserve that piece of chocolate cake. and so just understanding that has an impact on what you're actually putting in your body. And so I know we know this, and sometimes the numbers vary, but 60 to 75% of our bodies are made up of water. And it's important as we're talking about food and as we're talking about feeding bodies that are looking to get pregnant, or bodies that are pregnant, is that understanding that water and hydration is key. There's you know, we can survive without food for so long, but surviving without water, you know, you're going to be super challenged. And so understanding where that fits in to our lives. And so just looking at general recommendations, and it may depend on your body size, your type, how much water you hold in, how you keep in your moisture. It's just the general recommendations are approximately for women are 2.7 liters or 91 ounces of total water. And it's I've actually gifted these to some of my wellness coaching clients. They have these bottles on Amazon that give you all kinds of encouragement on on being able to drink water throughout the day. It's one of the first things that we forget about. We grab our morning coffee, we grab that cocktail or that glass of wine at night, but sometimes we forget those glasses of water. And as women are pregnant or breastfeeding, you actually need to increase the amount of water that you're intaking. And as we know also, is that dehydration can also mimic labor. So for us, and when we're working with pregnant bodies, like understanding that water is going to be like that number one thing that our bodies need. It's what fuels us. And there's some other tips and tricks. If you're tired of drinking just plain water, you can add mint, you can add berries, you can add lemon wedges. You can get, some sparkling water or mineral water, as I prefer. I love to drink a little bit of mineral water. And sometimes it gives you that fizzy without having to get the added sugar or calories to that. So we're going to dive into eating for fertility. And so fertility. So we're talking high vibe foods, high vibe life. So as a farmer, we know that there are different times where food is going to be vital. It's going to be life-giving. It's going to be bright. So we're talking about all the colors, the colors of the rainbow. When I'm working with young women, often I work with young middle school and high school youth on our farm. And so I always do this rainbow salad. And the rainbow salad, doesn't matter what it is. It's greens, it's peppers, it's pickled beets, it's, whatever I can find and incorporate into the salad to just show them, how they can make their food delicious. There could be some chickpeas and some other things, some nuts, some cranberries. And so it's part of that is like understanding that we eat with our eyes before we eat with our stomach. Or our mouths, as it were. And so fresh fruits and vegetables that are going to be rich in antioxidants, iron, and fiber. Knowing that a lot of the foods that we're going to be eating for fertility are the same foods that we recommend for women who are pregnant. So, so you're going to be thinking about, how can you add, whole grains and complex carbs to your diet. So, maybe the Wonder Bread goes out the window and you bring in like a wonderful like seed bread. Or, maybe you're baking fresh loaves at your house with a whole grain flour, versus doing something that's like a bleached flour. So it's about, really kind of creating a space for your body to like get in all of those beautiful things that nature provides. And this tends to be a little bit more on the controversial side, is around the idea of swapping animal proteins for veggie proteins. I know I am mostly plant-based, but I do eat meats that are sustainably raised, grass-fed, like all of that kind of fun stuff. I also raise chickens, so I incorporate that into my diet. And so, we have this obsession with the standard American diet around animal proteins. And so when people are vegan or vegetarian, I think the number one question that my clients get are like, how are you getting your proteins? Well, proteins, beans, lentils, nuts, avocados. I mean, there's so many different ways you can incorporate, vegetable proteins into your diet. And you don't always have to go for the red meat. You can incorporate some fish, you can incorporate chicken. One of the things that I've done, I have a birth doula client right now that I'm working with. She is vegan, and so she's just like, I just want to make sure, like, you know, as I go through my pregnancy, she's in her second trimester, is making sure that she has enough protein in her diet. So I actually created a custom meal plan for her and her family to be incorporating more of those vegetable proteins into their diets, and still have it be fun. You know, we want food to be fun, and as a chef and a former restaurant owner, people want to have fun with their food. And so you don't want to eat the same kind of chickpeas every day, but when you start incorporating herbs and spices and all kinds of other like fun fats, oils, and vinegars, you can take something that may seem like same and boring and like take it to the next level. Let's see. And so, you know, as we're talking about that, you know, and this is getting and keeping your body.
No, I'm not.
Your body. Oh, somebody's unmuted. Oh, hello. Hey there. Okay, great. So as we're talking about balancing your plate and balancing your hormones, again, many of the foods that you're going to want to recommend for your clients who are pregnant are the same ones that you would incorporate around fertility. So you're looking at iron, you're looking at your folate, and you're looking at your B vitamins. You know, I understand that as soon as you get pregnant, you know, you get that specialty multivitamin and everything, which is beautiful and is great in so many ways. But really, the base should be food. You know, your vitamins should be, you know, your supplements should just be that, supplements to an already full, complex diet. So your iron, you're looking at your meat, your lentils, your eggs, your seafood, your poultry, your green leafy vegetables. So, you know, cook up that mess of greens, you know, get your kale going, incorporate all of those things into your diet more and more. And, you know, have fun with, you know, radish greens and mustard greens. And, you know, you can even take beets, you know, chop up the beets and roast them. And then you can actually eat the beet greens, or saute them and mix them with some eggs, you know, and pull them in that way, so that you're at every, you know, point that you're incorporating that. Especially if you're someone who is vegetarian or vegan, those dark leafy greens are going to be your friend. And so folate, again, we're going back to those leafy green vegetables, your root vegetables, kidney, white beans, orange juice, avocados, and milk, your B vitamins, your whole grains, your brown rice, your seeds, your beans, your lentils, your eggs, your chicken, fish, and avocados and carrots. And so, so it's like really, again, you're eating that rainbow. And that's always the way that I think of it, is like you want all of that stuff. And so as an herbalist, it's something that I do touch on, but I'm not going to dive into it. There's going to be a really amazing session later today at 1:30 with Zaire around the herbal pregnancy. And so she'll probably dive much deeper into these things. And so, you know, I just kind of wanted to put them because you'll see them, or you'll have potential clients coming to you. And, you know, I have people in my DMs and everything all the time asking, okay, I'm trying to get pregnant. What can I do? What can I use? I'm taking this, I'm doing that. And my thing is, it's like, find you an herbal practitioner to build with. That's always my number one. And especially for the folks here who are birth workers or doulas, is find you an herbal practitioner who can work with you. Some of these, like the usual suspects, your red clover, your red raspberry leaves, your nettles, you know, like, yes, you can make, you know, these beautiful infusions, which is also really another great way to get water into your diet. But there are some other things, you know, like dong quai, you know, or wild yam or damiana, to where you would actually want to be working with an herbalist who can do that one-on-one work to kind of find out, you know, what people are taking, what are the contraindications, what are the medicines that this messes with, are they on antidepressants? Okay, definitely not giving them St. John's wort, so really like having a conversation instead of just like, oh, I found this recipe off the internet, here you go, and then it's not working the way that folks want it to. And so that's just, one of those disclaimers that I give folks is like, there's a lot of stuff in a lot of different ways. It's the same thing with anything, is like the poison in the medicine is in the dosage. And so when you have a qualified herbal practitioner to work with, to develop a relationship, to build with, you'll be able to call on their expertise and be able to like properly guide your clients. And I know I've worked with other doulas, to provide herbal support, because they're just like, that's not my wheelhouse, and that's okay too. So I do operate as a doula's doula in that way, to give support, herbal support. Eating for pregnancy. So eating for pregnancy, I mean, I didn't want to just totally redo all those other like slides for this, but the same foods that are going to help you get pregnant are the same foods that are going to ensure a healthy pregnancy. So your hydration, your whole foods, your juicy fruits, so are going to be the key to a healthy pregnancy. At hydration, and one of the beautiful things about those herbal teas, those fresh fruits, those leafy greens, is that they're also going to increase hydration in the body. And as we're also speaking about hydration, your coconut water is going to be beautiful for that as well, and being able to incorporate some of the juices. I know there are some folks, and I just want to touch on this around juicing. Juicing can be great and beautiful, but a lot of juices and also some smoothies are huge sugar bombs. And same thing for fertility as it is for pregnancy. You actually don't want to increase the amount of sugar that you're ingesting in that way. And so when you're doing smoothies, you want to incorporate as many of those dark leafy greens as possible. And it's the same thing with the juices. Like, yes, have an apple and beet juice, but also toss some kale into that juice as well. It's going to metabolize better in your body, and ensure that you're getting everything that you need, and you're not also getting sugar crashes as well. Pregnancy pantry, so cravings, an entire snack. So in addition to aversions, which as a doula, we work with our clients, like, I can't eat this makes me nauseous, I can't do that. It's like, how do we help people also who are looking to have a balanced diet, to have all of those dark leafy greens and everything? How do we help them be able to meet that in a way that's not just like, okay, I'm just going to eat this entire bag of Doritos because I can, which there's also time for that as well, but also being able to balance it with other things. And so I wanted to pull together this list of options, so if somebody's like, oh, I just really am craving salty things, like, okay, your dark leafy greens, your kale, your seaweed chips are going to be great for that. Your pickled vegetables, just pickles, cucumbers are going to be amazing for that. Salted edamame, sauerkraut. So as we're talking about like those healthy things that we can incorporate, I always have a big batch of sauerkraut or kimchi in the fridge, like ready to go. And then creamy, and I talked about the smoothies, but you can take things like bananas and toss them in your freezer. You can take some of the fruits, different fruit mixes and stuff, and your frozen spinach, and like turn those into like a smoothie for someone who's just like, I can't eat. For me, when I was pregnant, I had an aversion to meat and to coffee. For someone who's been drinking coffee since they were 10 years old, and have actually run cafes in New York City, I was just like, I need something, and so, of course, I'm incorporating those dark leafy greens and that fresh fruit and everything, but I ended up having to find, like the dandelion coffees and stuff like that to like help me like really kind of boost up my my energy levels. And so you may just have to play with things if you're working with clients. You have to play with things to kind of figure out what's going to be helpful for them. But this is just a really great list to just kind of get you started. So, creamy mashed sweet potatoes, nut butters, and for those of you who know about like dates and getting women ready for birth, there are, I think it's the RX nut butters, have dates in them. So that's one way you could actually get your clients started earlier, incorporating dates into their diet. There's also, all kinds of other things that you can do. You can, put the regular like nut butter, say they only like peanut butter, they can actually just put peanut butter inside of a pitted date, and eat it like that as a snack. And so, again, like there's some fun ways, they're just going to be tasty, and that people are going to like want to reach for, versus being like, nah, if you give me one more date, like it's we're gonna have a fight. So there's fun ways to do it in that way. And let me see, I'm just gonna, I know we have a chat happening, and so I'm just gonna pull that off to the side because it disappeared. Crunchy, so think frozen grapes, your nuts, your plain popcorns, and you can dress up your popcorns with, oops, sorry, let me go back. That's what happens when I start messing with the chat window, y'all. There we go. Your celery, carrots with hummus, or you can do like a green goddess dressing, which is going to be great, and anything else. So think about like things that folks like to dip. So if, pesto would also be good. Pesto and carrots would be amazing, and you can make your pesto with, parsley, but you can also get some kale and some other things in there, which are also going to add more of those dark leafy greens to the diet. So if you're working with a client who's just like, look, like I like to roll through the drive-through at Chick-fil-A on a regular basis, and I'm like, all these salads you're trying to introduce me to, like that's just too much. The other thing that you can do is just ways to sneak in some of those foods into the diet. And so that may mean like doing some specialty dressings, like, doing some other kind of dips that incorporate that, and just giving them a way to like taste some of that. And so sweets is a whole nother deeper conversation. But one of the things that a lot of my clients, I do recommend that they kind of, if they're trying to get pregnant, to reduce the amount of dairy, because dairy is mucus producing. Even if you're not lactose intolerant, it does increase mucus in the body. And so you want to reduce as much mucus as possible in the body to get pregnant. And so if you're gonna do dairy, fermented dairy is usually best for folks. And so yogurt is an actual fermented food, in case you didn't know, and especially yogurt that doesn't have added sugar. So you can sweeten it with a little bit of honey and some like fresh granola. You can do fruit. And if, someone who's like, oh, I just really need as much sugar as possible, you can actually chop up the fruit the day before and just let it macerate and kind of like pull all of its sweetness and juices out. And you could take that and actually pour that over the yogurt and then stir it in. And so it'll give you kind of that, it'll give you more of that like yo plate flavor without all of the added sugar. And the thing is about having whole fruits is that you also get, the delicious fibers and everything else that come with it. Dried fruit without sugar. There are a lot of stores, I know folks usually associate Whole Foods to whole paycheck, but there are ways in which you can shop at Whole Foods that won't take your whole paycheck. So look at your dry goods, look at some of the things that are going to be your store brands and everything else. And this is my favorite thing, and for a lot of these things like the seaweed chips and stuff like that, hitting up TJ Maxx and going to their specialty food area. That is like my number one secret, not a secret, but often you'll find me there. And the thing is like they always mix it up, and it's kind of like a treasure hunt in some ways. So you can find your coconut oils and your olive oils and your avocado oils, and then you can also find chips that are made from seaweed or beets or other healthy things. And so that's a really fun way to like test out some of the fancier things that may be like, at least usually I find that I get a discount of 20 to 40% if I shop in the aisle at TJ Maxx than going to a Whole Foods or to other places. And I also have someone asking about stevia and monk fruit as a sweetener. Stevia and monk fruit as a sweetener are good. For me, I prefer not to do stevia only because it gives a strange off flavor to it, which, if you are working with folks who are pregnant, can be challenging. So like monk fruit, I find is a much more neutral sweetener. Agave, agave can be a little bit more controversial as far as sweeteners, but you can also get coconut sugars now, which are really great. You can actually get date sugar as well. So if you're incorporating more of those dates, date sugar is basically just dates dried and then ground. So that's another really great natural sugar. So just a heads up, because I know people like their sweets and I love sweets too. I also love honey as a, especially as we're I know with all the buzz about coronavirus, those of us in Georgia, it's pine pollen season. So guess what? Allergies are about to go a little crazy. So for me, I like to incorporate local honey to like help with my allergies and stuff as well. So that's a really great way to do that. Fresh cut pineapple is going to be super sweet, and is also really great on the fertility side, but it's just really great sweetener for folks who are pregnant too. It was one of the main things that I could eat when I was pregnant. I didn't want anything else. I was just like, literally, I would go through a whole thing of like pineapple. And let's see, let me go back to this other one. Yeah, eyes swollen. Yes, it is the season. So, take care of those allergies as we, for us who do suffer with seasonal allergies, sneezing and coughing are a big thing. And so we don't want to get kicked out because people think that we have coronavirus. So we're going getting a handle on that. And so this is the other part, eating for immunity. So here's the thing. If you're eating whole foods, if you're eating dark leafy greens, if you're, eating mushrooms and like pulling those things in, garlic, onions, ginger, your body is going to be ahead of the curve. I truly and firmly believe that food is medicine. And that is like the basis of my life. And being able to like bolster your system before you get sick is important so that you're stronger to be able to face whatever, whether that's labor or, just a regular cold or flu. But what you eat has a huge impact. but also being grounded. So, staying connected to our bodies, to our spirit, to our family and chosen community is so important, because again, like that community care, that joy is what's going to like keep our spirits up. And whether we get sick or not, it also helps to boost, love helps to boost up your immunity as well. And also I hear masturbation is also another way to help boost your immunity. For those sex doulas out there, like incorporate that into your practice. But staying hydrated, getting rest, and incorporating those foods is key as well, before you get sick. And a lot of, like, for me, a lot of what I incorporate into my diet, just as a general immunity practice, is mushrooms. So, go get all the mushrooms, like chop them up, mix them up, saute them, incorporate them into your eggs, into your salads. They're going to like help to boost your brain, and they're going to help to boost your system in very important ways. And those fermented foods. So, your yogurts, your sauerkraut, your kimchi. So all of these things that I recommend to clients are going to be things that you're going to want to incorporate for general immunity. Your garlic, your onions, your ginger. So like your basic like culinary, foods are going to be super important. I mean, for me, I literally put onions and garlic in everything, it feels like. And I love to, another way that's really great to take in garlic is to take, a head of garlic, like fresh garlic, a head of it, chop off, the parts, like, and literally put them in a piece of like foil, sprinkle some olive oil in there, a little bit of salt, put it in the oven, and like get some roasted garlic going, and literally just pop one in your mouth, every little bit, and that's beautiful. Raw garlic is great too, but not everybody can digest that in the same way. So it's not really something that I recommend for women who are pregnant, because of the food aversions. But it's something, as a regular, as soon as I leave Atlanta and get back to my farm in Brunswick, like, these are the kind of foods that I'm going to be, cooking up for myself. The roasted garlic, getting things like, golden milk, which has like turmeric, ginger. Usually I'll end up bolstering it with like date sugar, and I'll use a nut milk, not dairy, so then that's just like a really beautiful warming tonic for your system. So, and I'll be making, more kombucha and other things to like, send to some clients, but also it's something that I incorporate in a regular practice. But, understanding that, immunity, cold and flu season, yes, it's important, but this year-round immunity is something that's important as well. And I also wanted to like leave some time for questions as well, but I did want to walk through this last screen with you, is like, the best ways to connect. Feel free to email me. You can also head over to my website. I actually created a special page just for the folks who attended the session or who watch the live later. It's just sageslarder.com/NBDA-wellness. And so you'll be able to click the link to see just the slides for this project. And then there's also a special download that has a few of the different recipes that I use in my practice as a wellness coach and as a doula. And they're just cute little recipes that are fun, and there's like different suggestions and stuff. I did write a blog for these times. I know folks are following the CDC and the news and everything else, but there's also like, some really great resources around, community care, herbal care and integrative care. One of the links that I do have on that blog post are from Dr. Aviva, who is collecting stuff specifically for women who are pregnant and trying to navigate coronavirus, as well as just general cold and flu season. So please go to the blog, check it out. It's just, and she's updating it as news comes out and as she writes up new topics. So that's going to be really great for those of us who are like actively in the birth world right now and trying to help our clients navigate. And then there's also just some meditation and some general care stuff. You know, one of the things that fertility, immunity, pregnancy, one of the biggest things that is just going to be super important is for us to find our grounding, to stay grounded, and to, yes, prepare, you know, yes, you should definitely make sure you have toilet paper. You should make sure that you have your basic needs met. But that part of that basic needs is that emotional need, is that calmness, you know, to decrease the amount of inflammation that's in your system in a general basis, because those things also open you up to colds, to flus, to all of those other things. And so making sure that you have that care and that you're also like helping to guide your clients right now. Pregnancy and fertility are already stressful situations, and they're beautiful and all of those things too, but that if we can make sure that our clients have access to things like breathing, breath work, and meditation, to herbal medicine, to foods that they can cook up themselves, but I think the better off that they and all of us are going to be. And for folks who, you know, also head to my website, I did create a discount code for folks who are looking for some herbal stuff. I do sell reishi mushroom tincture, as well as like a specialty fortified elderberry syrup that includes hibiscus that we grow on our farm, and echinacea. So, you know, again, as part of that too, just hopefully Z goes into that a little bit more. Elderberry syrup is fine when you're well and as you're building up immunity, but if you do get sick, stop it and bring it back once you're trying to get better again. But it's something that I do provide to my folks, and I do ship. But I think that that's it, and I'm may have missed out a little bit on the time, but if in case folks do have questions, I do have the chat window up, and I can stop I'll pause the sharing. Okay, hopefully that brings it back to me. If not, well, maybe I'll stop. No, there we go. Okay, new updated technology. Can y'all see my face now? Maybe you had already seen my face, I don't know. Thank you, Brooke. So yeah, so I do, someone asked about farming or herbalism classes on the farm. I do offer hands-on classes on the farm and herbalism classes. I am looking to add some like video and webinars to my repertoire right now. You know, I teach classes around eating for fertility. I have a special honey pot class that I teach that's all about like sweetening up your life to welcome in new life. And then other classes, hands-on medicinal herb classes and stuff at our farm. We're based in Brunswick, Georgia. And so I'm looking to do more in Savannah, and then sometimes I also get to Atlanta to teach classes as well. Okay. Let's see. I'm just, it's scrolling as people enter, so I'm trying to grab them all. Yes, we do offer tours of our farm on the weekends. I'll make sure that I also add some other links, and you can also email me and I can connect you with our farm tour stuff. On the alkaline and pineapple question, here's the thing, your body is going to go back and forth between acidity and alkalinity on a regular basis. It's the sweetness of it is, I think, enough to like balance that. It's really not something that I think most people have to worry about. And one of my other favorite herbalists, oh my goodness, I'll see if I can find her link, Stormy, who is also a member of the National Black Doulas Association. She has this wonderful fertility syrup that incorporates pineapples, and it's delicious and amazing. And you can kind of put it on anything if you want to like enter in whatever else into that. Food deserts, and they're not used to having more veggies in their diet. Here's the thing, go get frozen vegetables, canned vegetables. That is perfectly okay. And I usually err on the side of frozen. I used to do food work in food deserts in Brooklyn. And so for me, it's like, let's figure out how to like access that. The amount of like, especially for small towns and stuff like that. I do live in a small town. I live in the country. So going to Walmart and going to places that can that have frozen vegetables, or working with a group of your closest neighbors to like go do some collective buying, like at Sam's Club or Costco, and being able to like divide up all the vegetables and stuff from the frozen section. I highly recommend that. And then also, as somebody who works in the seed and farming movement, grow your own. So I used to rooftop farm on the top of my brownstone in Brooklyn, New York. I can also like help you, connect to resources for how to do container gardening and stuff like that. Jacksonville, yes, Jacksonville. I will most definitely see you in Jacksonville. But I also want to make sure that I also hand this off in a timely manner, as things got kind of moved around. So I want to make sure everybody has their full time. So